How people survived the long nights before electricity. Boring history for sleep. The sun had finally set, and the small village lay quietly under the soft embrace of the evening sky. As the golden light retreated, leaving the world in shades of deep blue and soft gray, the villagers went about their evening routines, careful to move slowly, gently, and with purpose. Tonight, like every night before the advent of electricity, the darkness was long and full, stretching hours beyond what many today would consider natural. And yet, there was a quiet beauty to it, a rhythm that life had learned over countless generations. Before we drift into the stillness of the night, dear listener, if you enjoy these gentle stories of history and wish to join our journey into calm and quiet moments of the past, please consider giving this channel a like and subscribing. Doing so helps us bring more peaceful tales of history, perfect for relaxation and sleep, right to your evening. Now let us wander into the world as it once was, when evenings were long and nights were unlit by electric lights. As the first hints of twilight faded, the villagers lit their fires and candles, creating small pools of warm light against the encroaching darkness. Smoke curled lazily from chimneys, carrying the faint scent of burning wood and dried herbs into the cooling air. Children's laughter had already faded, and the streets, once busy with daily labor, were now quiet except for the occasional rustle of animals or the creak of a wooden door closing for the night. Each home seemed like a small, self-contained world, glowing softly from within, while the vast sky stretched endlessly overhead, dotted with stars that shone like tiny lanterns hung by some unseen hand. In homes made of timber and stone, families began to gather around their hearths. Mothers tended to the last cooking fires, stirring pots of thick porridge or baking bread that had been prepared during the day. Fathers finished the chores outside, stacking firewood carefully to last through the long hours. The rhythm of evening was gentle, methodical, and steeped in a deep sense of care. Every action seemed to hold a purpose, a way of preparing not just the body, but the mind for the coming night. Night in this time was unlike the brief darkness we know today. Without electric light to artificially extend the day, humans had adapted to a natural schedule, rising with the sun and retreating with its setting. The dark hours were long, and yet they were not empty. They were filled with quiet work, reflection, and stories whispered softly in the glow of firelight. People understood the night as a time for rest, for gentle activity, and for preparation. Every shadow, every flicker of candlelight was observed with care, and the mind adjusted to the calm rhythm of darkness. The streets outside were nearly silent, save for the occasional footstep of a late traveler, moving carefully to avoid obstacles in the dim light. Lanterns swayed gently in the hands of those who ventured out, illuminating only a few feet in front of them. The familiar shapes of cottages, fences, and carts emerged slowly from the shadows, revealing themselves in soft outlines. It was a world where the eyes learned to see slowly, where movement was deliberate, and where every sound carried meaning. Inside the homes, children listened intently to stories. These were tales of old, passed down through generations, spoken slowly and with care so that each word could be savored. There were stories of brave ancestors, of distant lands, of times when animals spoke with humans, and of the strange mysteries that existed just beyond the familiar fields. Every story served not only as entertainment, but as instruction, a quiet way to teach patience, observation, and understanding of the world. The dim light of the fire and the gentle cadence of the storyteller's voice created a cocoon of calm, a space in which imagination could drift slowly toward sleep. Evening meals were simple but nourishing. Bread, cheese, pottage, and roasted vegetables provided warmth and sustenance. Meals were shared quietly, with conversation subdued, as the long night ahead demanded calm energy rather than excitement. Every movement, every sound, every glance was measured, shaped by the knowledge that darkness would not soon yield to daylight. It was a slow, intentional pace, a way of living that taught mindfulness and presence long before those words existed. Outside, the natural world was equally alive in subtle ways. Owls called softly from distant trees, their sounds echoing through the still air. The wind moved gently through the branches, carrying the crisp scent of earth and frost. Cats and dogs patrolled their small domains, their paws making soft impressions on the dirt paths. The rhythm of life adapted naturally to the long darkness. Hunters, guards, and watchmen moved carefully, their senses attuned to the faintest flicker of movement or sound. The long night was a teacher. It demanded patience. It rewarded attentiveness. It encouraged creativity and quiet conversation. Without artificial light, humans developed a keen awareness of the small, subtle cues of their environment. The way shadows shifted across a wall, the faint glimmer of a distant lantern, the soft rustling of leaves under a gentle breeze. Every sense became engaged, every action deliberate. There was a deep respect for the dark, a reverence for its power, and a quiet joy in the small comforts that could be created within it. As hours passed, families settled into the rhythm of evening tasks and gentle entertainment. Fires were tended carefully so as not to waste fuel. Candles were trimmed and lit with intention. Clothing was repaired, small tools were cleaned, and preparations were made for the next day. Even the youngest children were encouraged to move gently, to speak softly, to observe the calm and steady pace of the household. Life had become a dance with darkness, a delicate balance between activity and rest, guided by the gentle flicker of firelight. The long night stretched onward, measured not in hours but in tasks, stories, and quiet reflection. People spoke softly, laughed rarely, and listened more than they spoke. They were fully present, fully aware, fully engaged in the art of surviving the long hours before sunrise. And while the darkness was absolute in its reach, it was also comforting, predictable, and safe when one knew the rhythms of the home and the village. By the time the moon had risen high, bathing the landscape in soft silver light, most villagers were settled near their fires, the children gently lulled to sleep by the slow cadence of adult voices. The gentle crackle of flames, the faint smell of smoke, and the warm glow of candlelight created a sanctuary in which the mind could relax. There was no hurry, no pressure, no artificial urgency, only the quiet, deliberate rhythm of life guided by the natural cycle of day and night. And so, as the long night continued, each family, each individual, each small creature of the village adjusted to the unbroken hours of darkness. They moved with care, they spoke with purpose, and they rested when their bodies demanded it. It was a world without the bright lights that we take for granted today, a world in which the night was fully night, and yet within it there was comfort, warmth, and a gentle peace that allowed for slow, intentional living. Tonight, as the villagers embraced the darkness, they were practicing the quiet art of survival, the mindful rhythm of life, and the slow, gentle passage of time. And as you listen to this story, imagine yourself walking slowly through the dimly lit streets, feeling the cool air on your face, hearing the soft sounds of distant fires, and noticing the subtle shifts of shadow and light. Let yourself be immersed in this long night where calm and attentive living carry you toward rest.
The warm glow of fire and candlelight. The long night stretched onward, but within the village, a soft warmth glowed from every home. Thomas, the night watchman, continued his careful rounds, lantern in hand, moving slowly along paths he had walked countless times. The world outside was cool and silent, yet inside each cottage, a gentle fire or a small candle transformed the darkness into an intimate, comforting space. The glow of firelight painted walls with soft, flickering shadows, turning ordinary rooms into places of quiet reflection and peaceful repose. Within these warm interiors, people adapted to the long hours of darkness with grace and patience. Mothers tended to their evening fires, stirring thick pots of porridge or roasting small cuts of meat over the hearth. Children, their eyes wide with curiosity, were drawn toward the glowing warmth, settling near parents or siblings to listen to soft conversation or simply to feel the reassuring presence of another human being. Each flicker of light became a focal point for attention, and each shadow encouraged mindfulness, urging everyone to move slowly and carefully through the night. The fire, small but steady, was more than just warmth or illumination. It was a companion for the evening, a quiet guardian that allowed the family to carry on simple tasks and gentle routines. The crackling of burning wood created a rhythm to life, each snap and hiss a subtle punctuation in the otherwise still night. These sounds, familiar and predictable, were comforting to the villagers, and they reminded them of their connection to the larger flow of life, to routines that had been followed for generations. Candles, though fragile and easily extinguished, added a more intimate glow. Families placed them on wooden tables, mantels, or shelves, their soft light creating small circles of brightness within the darkened rooms. Children watched shadows dance on the walls, their imaginations filling in shapes and stories. Quiet conversations moved around these flickers of light, hushed tones acknowledging the unspoken rules of the long night, patience, calm, and attentiveness. In one small cottage, a mother arranged her little kitchen, ensuring that the last of the firewood would be ready for the night. The flickering flame highlighted her gentle features, soft brown eyes, a calm expression, hands that moved carefully as she checked the pot on the hearth. Her children sat quietly near her, their attention drawn to the soft glow and the rhythmic crackle of the fire. The room smelled of baked bread, dried herbs, and the subtle warmth of the wood itself. In this environment, each small action was magnified, stirring, kneading, folding, trimming the candle wick. Every movement was deliberate, slow, and infused with purpose. Meanwhile, Thomas moved through the village streets, observing these warm scenes from the outside. From time to time, he paused to look through a small window, noting the simple domestic scenes. The firelight spilling onto wooden walls made each cottage appear alive with motion and life, even as the outside world remained silent and still. He understood, as the villagers did, that the night was not merely to be survived, it was a space to cultivate attentiveness, patience, and quiet reflection. Some villagers carried lanterns outside as they tended animals or fetched water from the well. Each step was deliberate, cautious, guided by the small circles of light and the natural rhythm of the night. Shadows shifted slowly, revealing shapes in subtle ways that required careful observation. In these hours, humans relied on their senses more acutely than at any other time of day. Every sound was meaningful: the soft murmur of the stream, the rustle of leaves in the breeze, the distant call of a night bird. In homes larger or smaller, the glow of firelight was a center of life.
Families used the quiet hours for sewing, mending tools, or preparing for the next day. The warmth of the fire allowed hands to remain nimble and eyes to see just enough to perform careful work. Children learned early the delicate balance between curiosity and caution, watching the flames dance while respecting their unpredictable heat. In this slow, deliberate rhythm, the villagers found a comforting predictability, a gentle order to the night. Even outside the cottages, the soft glow of lanterns highlighted small paths and corners of the village. Thomas's lantern cast a steady light that guided his steps, illuminating familiar faces of neighbors who had also stepped outside for a moment. Some exchanged brief words in soft tones, careful not to disturb the calm of the night. These interactions were sparse, deliberate, and serene, a reflection of the shared understanding that the night was long and to be respected. As the hours passed, the rhythm of the night deepened. Families began to settle down further, children yawning and curling close to their parents, eyes heavy with fatigue, but minds soothed by the warmth and gentle stories surrounding them. The fire continued its quiet work, casting soft light and shadows that shifted imperceptibly as logs burned low. Each movement, each glance, each sound contributed to the calm, steady pulse of the night. Outside, Thomas continued his watch. The small village, illuminated here and there by lanterns and firelight, remained peaceful and still. He walked slowly, taking in the delicate balance of light and shadow, listening to the soft nocturnal symphony of wind, animals, and distant murmurs of life. He understood, as everyone did, that the long hours before dawn were not simply to be endured, they were to be respected, observed, and lived fully within the quiet rhythm of existence. By the middle of the night, most cottages had grown dimmer as candles burned low and fires settled into glowing embers. The air was cool and serene, and even the occasional movement outside seemed measured and deliberate. The warm glow inside, the attentive watch outside, and the slow, quiet routines of the villagers all coalesced into a gentle harmony, a peaceful coexistence with the night itself. In this calm, deliberate environment, humans practiced patience, mindfulness, and quiet reflection, all under the comforting presence of fire and candlelight. The night, though long, was neither frightening nor empty. It was a space of warmth, gentle illumination, and slow, deliberate life. In the glow of these small lights, the village endured the dark hours with grace, attentiveness, and quiet joy, carrying each soul carefully through the hours before the sun would rise again.
Night in the village stretched onward with a profound stillness, a blanket of darkness broken only by the soft glow of firelight and flickering lanterns. Thomas, the night watchman, moved steadily along the familiar streets, his lantern casting warm circles of light on the cobblestones. The rhythm of his steps was slow and deliberate, each movement intentional, attentive to the small, subtle details of the night. The village itself seemed to breathe in the quiet, the occasional rustle of leaves, the faint murmur of a stream, and the soft crackle of distant fires created a serene nighttime symphony. Inside each home, life continued at a measured pace. Families huddled around hearths that glowed warmly in the darkness. The fire's amber light reflected gently on wooden walls, revealing the textures of beams and stone, and casting soft shadows across simple furniture. Children, their faces illuminated by the gentle glow, listened with rapt attention as parents spoke in calm, measured tones. Every gesture, from the turning of a page to the careful stirring of a pot, was deliberate, slow, and full of intent. The long nights demanded patience. Before electricity, every action was magnified by the scarcity of light. Tasks required focus, and distractions were minimal. People learned to pace themselves, to move thoughtfully, and to observe everything around them. The glow of the fire and the flicker of a candle became guides through the darkness, providing warmth and illumination, but also a subtle rhythm that structured life during these hours. Thomas's lantern reflected softly off the stone walls and cobblestones as he passed cottages, allowing him to observe the quiet domestic rituals taking place. He could see a mother gently guiding her children to bed, a father tending to a small indoor fire, and older siblings quietly finishing chores before settling down. Each lighted window was a story, a small moment of human life carefully unfolding in the shadows of the night. The night demanded awareness. Every sound carried significance. The hoot of an owl, the whisper of wind through the trees, the soft splash of water in the creek. All these subtle cues guided Thomas's watchful eyes. The villagers, too, were attuned to the night. They moved carefully, speaking softly, and treasured the small comforts of warmth and illumination. Even the act of moving through the streets required attention. A misplaced step could result in cold, dirt, or a stumble in the shadows. In some cottages, the fire was nearly spent, leaving only a faint glow on the hearth. Families leaned close to each other, enjoying the residual warmth. Conversation was soft, often a murmur as if loud sounds might disturb the fragile equilibrium of the night. Meals had been shared, tasks completed, and now only quiet companionship and reflection remained. The night had transformed into a time of introspection, a gentle slowing of life where every small moment carried weight and meaning. Outside, Thomas continued his rounds. His eyes, accustomed to the dim light, could detect the faintest movements, a shadow shifting near a window, the distant sound of a dog's bark, or the gentle ripple of the creek. All were noted with careful attention. His presence was unobtrusive yet protective, a quiet guardian ensuring the safety and peace of the village while respecting the stillness of the night. At times he paused to observe the reflections of lantern light on the windows, noticing the small gestures and expressions of villagers as they moved through their nighttime routines. A young child tucked into bed, a candle carefully trimmed to last longer, a quiet exchange of words across the room. All were small stories of human perseverance in the long hours of darkness. Each scene reinforced the understanding that before electricity, life had been slower, more intentional, and deeply attentive to the subtleties of light and shadow. The long night was punctuated by small rituals. Fires were tended carefully, logs added one by one, embers stirred to maintain a gentle heat. Candles were trimmed, wax drip managed, and flames shielded from drafts. Every act was deliberate, and every gesture contributed to the overall harmony of the evening. These slow, mindful routines were not burdensome, but instead provided structure and comfort, a rhythm that the villagers had relied upon for generations.
Children learned the value of patience in these hours. They observed the careful tending of fires and candles, watched their parents move slowly through chores, and absorbed the calm attentiveness that defined life after dusk. Games and conversation were quieter, stories told in soft tones, and imagination encouraged through shadows on walls and gentle flickers of light. The night, though long, offered an opportunity for reflection and learning, as well as connection with family and community. As Thomas walked along the village streets, he noticed that even the quietest corners were alive with subtle motion. The flicker of a candle through a window, the sway of a hanging lantern, the distant rustle of leaves. All these details required attention and care. He understood the delicate balance of nightlife, that the calm and stillness were both fragile and essential, and that his role as watchman was to preserve that equilibrium. By midnight, the village had settled into a profound tranquility. Fires burned low, lanterns glowed softly, and most inhabitants were at rest. The soft hum of nightlife, the distant creak, the whispering wind, the occasional animal, formed a subtle background music to the slow passage of time. Thomas's lantern illuminated the path ahead, casting warm reflections on the cobblestones and reminding him of the living pulse of the village beneath the calm exterior. In the final hours before dawn, the village existed in a delicate balance of light, shadow, warmth, and stillness. Life without electricity required patience, mindfulness, and an intimate relationship with the environment. The glow of fire and candlelight provided comfort, focus, and a gentle rhythm, guiding villagers through long nights with deliberate care. Thomas, steadfast and attentive, continued his rounds, a quiet guardian witnessing the patient endurance of human life, one measured step at a time. And in this calm, measured environment, the night itself became a companion, gentle, slow, and attentive. Shadows and light danced together to create a world of subtle beauty and quiet reflection, where every action, every sound, and every flicker of flame reminded those who observed them that even in darkness, life could be purposeful, connected, and serene. The quiet hours of a village in winter. Winter had settled over the village, and with it came longer nights and colder air. Snow had lightly dusted the rooftops, and the soft crunch of footsteps on icy cobblestones was a reminder that every movement required care. Thomas, the night watchman, walked his familiar rounds with measured, deliberate steps. His lantern cast a warm amber glow, illuminating the frosty stones and reflecting faintly off the windows of the cottages. The night was calm, quiet, and gentle, yet it demanded attentiveness from those who moved through it. Inside each home, families were wrapped in layers of warmth. Fires blazed steadily in hearths, crackling softly and casting flickering shadows on walls lined with timber and stone. The glow of the fire illuminated simple furnishings, wooden tables, low chairs, and shelves neatly stacked with everyday utensils. Mothers stirred thick pots of porridge, fathers tended to the small firewood, and children sat quietly nearby, mesmerized by the play of light and shadow on walls and ceiling. Each movement was deliberate, and each sound, crackling fire, faint wind, distant owl, became part of the rhythm of the long night. The absence of electricity made these hours slow and intentional. Candles were trimmed carefully to last longer, and lamps were managed so that their gentle glow could provide warmth and comfort. Families moved thoughtfully, aware that every action took time and demanded attention. The subtle warmth from the fire, the quiet ambiance of candlelight, and the protective presence of someone like Thomas outside combined to create an atmosphere of safety, calm, and deliberate focus. Thomas's watch was both quiet and alert. The winter night made shadows deeper and corners darker, requiring him to observe the village with heightened care. Every flicker of light, every sound of shifting snow, and every movement of a figure in the distance was noted with attentiveness. His lantern illuminated each step, revealing the uneven stones beneath his feet and the frost-laden edges of cottages. His presence was a comforting one. Families inside their warm homes knew that he moved steadily through the night, protecting the peace they relied upon to rest and prepare for the next day. Children learned early how to inhabit these slow, deliberate hours. They watched the flames dance across hearths, noticed the way shadows moved with the flicker of candlelight, and absorbed the calm and patient movements of adults. Quiet games, whispered stories, and gentle music filled small rooms. Imagination thrived in this environment, as each shadow and flicker became a character in their private stories, and each subtle sound a signal for attention and awareness. Throughout the night, fires were maintained carefully. Logs were added one by one, embers stirred to sustain warmth, and ash removed to prevent smothering the flames. Each act was deliberate, precise, and mindful. Candle wicks were trimmed, lanterns filled with oil, and flames shielded from drafts. In the absence of artificial light, these small, attentive routines became essential, giving the village a sense of order, rhythm, and security. Thomas paused from time to time, noticing the reflections of candlelight in frosted windows. He could see families settling into quiet routines, parents whispering to children, small tasks being finished before bedtime, and the simple pleasures of warmth and companionship. Each window told a story of endurance and careful attention to the long hours of night. Outside, the village was hushed, broken only by the soft rustle of wind, the faint crunch of snow beneath boots, and the distant call of nocturnal birds. Thomas moved deliberately, alert but calm, his eyes scanning every shadow and movement. He understood the delicate balance of safety and stillness that defined the village at night. His presence allowed families to inhabit their homes fully and without worry, knowing that every moment was observed by a steady, careful guardian. As the hours passed, the quiet routines continued. Fires burned steadily, lanterns flickered softly, and the village existed in a gentle harmony of light and shadow. Conversations inside homes were soft and measured, and movements outside were deliberate and careful. The long winter night encouraged patience, reflection, and mindfulness, and the villagers embraced this rhythm with grace. Children learned patience and observation. They watched adults tend fires and candles, absorbed the careful movements and subtle gestures of those around them, and discovered the quiet joys of slow, intentional living. In these long, dark hours, imagination and attentiveness were strengthened, and the small details of life, the way shadows shifted, the crackle of a fire, the sway of a lantern, became rich lessons in observation and mindfulness. By midnight, the village had settled into a profound calm. Most cottages were dim, fires reduced to glowing embers, and children and adults alike were preparing for sleep. Thomas moved through the streets slowly, lantern in hand, ensuring that every corner of the village was secure, every path clear, and every home undisturbed. The soft light of lanterns reflected off snowy rooftops, creating a serene interplay of warm and cold, light and shadow. The long winter night was a study of patience and deliberate action. Every gesture mattered, every small task was purposeful, and the careful observation of light and shadow guided the villagers through hours that could otherwise feel endless. Thomas's careful patrols, combined with the soft glow of fires and lanterns, maintained a sense of order, calm, and security throughout the village. As the night drew closer to its final hours, the village existed in quiet balance. Flickers of fire and lantern light danced on walls and ceilings, shadows stretched across cobblestones, and the gentle presence of attentive watchmen like Thomas reinforced the tranquility of the scene. Life without electricity demanded attentiveness, patience, and mindfulness, and in this winter night, the villagers exemplified each of these qualities fully. In these slow, deliberate hours, the night itself became a companion. Shadows and light intertwined to create subtle beauty. Every small sound became meaningful, and every flicker of flame was a reminder of human ingenuity and patience. The long winter night, though dark and cold, was transformed into a space of safety, reflection, and quiet wonder. A space in which every person could move slowly, observe carefully, and lived deliberately in the soft glow of firelight and lanterns.
The silent nights and subtle sounds of the village. The village lay in the quiet embrace of a deep winter night. Thomas, the night watchman, moved carefully through the narrow, snow-lined streets, lantern in hand, its warm glow casting soft circles of light on the cobblestones. Each step produced a gentle crunch against the frost-covered stones, a sound that seemed amplified in the stillness. The houses were quiet, their interiors bathed in the flicker of candlelight, hearth fires glowing steadily, and shadows stretching across walls in gentle dances of amber and orange. Inside the cottages, families moved with calm deliberation. Fires burned low, and the soft hum of conversation mingled with the occasional creak of wooden beams or the quiet settling of snow on rooftops. Mothers attended to simple chores, stirring porridge, folding blankets, or trimming candle wicks. Fathers moved slowly, checking on firewood or adjusting the warmth of stoves. Children, wrapped in warm blankets, sat quietly, observing and listening, learning the rhythms of the long night. Life without electricity required careful attention to light, sound, and movement. The warm glow of the hearth and the gentle flicker of lanterns were not just sources of illumination, but guides that structured the entire evening. Every motion was deliberate, every sound noticed, and every small act carried significance. In this environment, patience and attentiveness were cultivated naturally, shaping the daily rhythm and nurturing a sense of calm reflection that permeated the long hours of darkness. Thomas's watch was steady and unhurried. His lantern illuminated the path ahead, highlighting uneven cobblestones and icy patches that demanded careful footing. His eyes, accustomed to low light, picked out subtle movements in the shadows, small hints of activity from animals, or the occasional stray sound from distant cottages. He walked slowly but purposefully, aware that every step contributed to the safety and tranquility of the village. In one small home, a family huddled around the fire, sharing a simple meal of warm bread and stew. The children listened intently as their parents told stories of the village's past, recounting tales of seasons gone by, hardships endured, and moments of quiet triumph. Shadows from the fire danced across their faces, shaping the contours of imagination and giving life to each story. Outside, Thomas paused to observe the gentle glow from the window, noting the expressions of contentment and the rhythm of domestic life unfolding in the warm sanctuary of the home. The long night was punctuated by small, intentional rituals. Fires were maintained carefully, embers stirred gently, and logs added one by one to preserve steady heat. Candles were trimmed and lanterns refilled with oil, ensuring that light continued to guide those who moved about the homes and streets. Every gesture was deliberate, reinforcing a slow and measured pace of life that the villagers had relied upon for generations. The stillness of the village encouraged mindfulness. Each sound carried meaning: a distant bark of a dog, the soft rustle of snow-laden branches, or the faint creak of a window shutter. Children, observing from the warmth of their homes, learned to discern these subtle cues, developing awareness and a sense of rhythm with the night. These lessons, quiet and gradual, strengthened attentiveness, patience, and an appreciation for the delicate interplay between light, sound, and shadow. Outside, Thomas continued his patrol, moving along the snow-dusted paths with careful precision. Lantern in hand, his steady gaze swept across streets and alleys, noting every corner and shadow. His presence was both calm and reassuring, a protective rhythm woven into the fabric of the night. families could rest securely, knowing that he moved deliberately through the village, observing with patient attention and quiet vigilance. The frozen creek at the edge of the village shimmered softly in the moonlight, reflecting faint glimmers of lanterns from nearby cottages. Thomas paused briefly, observing the interplay of light and water, the subtle patterns of ice and snow, and the quiet harmony of the natural environment. In these moments, he felt the slow rhythm of life without electricity, a world measured in small gestures, careful observation, and deliberate actions. Through the long hours of night, the village maintained a gentle balance. Fires provided warmth, lanterns offered guidance, and the careful, deliberate routines of its inhabitants shaped a serene environment. Conversations were soft, movements were slow, and every detail, from a flickering shadow to the gentle crackle of embers, was part of the quiet tapestry of nighttime life. Thomas's lantern illuminated distant corners, and the reflections of light on snow and cobblestones created subtle patterns that guided him through the village. He moved attentively, aware of every movement, sound, and shadow, ensuring that the quiet, measured pace of the night remained undisturbed. His role as watchman was one of patience, vigilance, and gentle attentiveness, a guardian of tranquility in an age when the absence of electricity demanded careful care and observation. By midnight, most of the village was settled. Fires burned low in hearths, lanterns glowed softly, and the gentle hush of night enveloped every cottage and alleyway. Children slept peacefully, parents rested quietly, and Thomas's steady presence reinforced the calm and safety of the environment. Every sound, every shadow, and every flicker of light contributed to a rich, intentional nighttime experience, one that encouraged mindfulness, patience, and quiet reflection. As the hours drew closer to dawn, the village existed in a state of harmonious stillness. Lanterns cast soft circles of light, snow reflected moonlight in gentle patterns, and the subtle movement of shadows across cottages and streets created a living landscape of tranquility. Thomas's watch, measured and deliberate, exemplified the quiet, careful pace of life before electricity, a time when attention to detail, mindfulness, and gentle observation defined the rhythm of the night. In this calm and deliberate environment, the night itself became a companion. Shadows and light intertwined to create subtle beauty. Every small sound became meaningful, and every flicker of flame reminded the villagers of human patience, ingenuity, and resilience. Life without electricity was slower, more intentional, and profoundly connected to the natural rhythms of night and day. And through it all, Thomas remained the steady, watchful guardian of peace, light, and quiet reflection.
The midnight rhythm of work and rest. The night had grown deep and still across the quiet village. Snow rested gently on rooftops and fences, covering the world in a peaceful white silence. Above, the sky stretched endlessly, filled with quiet stars glowing faintly in the cold winter air. Thomas, the night watchman, walked slowly along the narrow cobblestone road. His lantern cast a warm amber glow onto the snowy ground, illuminating each careful step he took. The light moved with him like a small floating star, guiding his path through the darkness. For centuries before electricity existed, nights like this were common across towns and villages everywhere. Darkness arrived early in winter, sometimes lasting 14 or 15 long hours. Yet people did not simply sleep through all of that time. Instead, they developed quiet rhythms that divided the night into moments of rest, reflection, work, and calm wakefulness. Thomas knew this rhythm well.
He paused briefly near the center of the village square, raising his lantern slightly. The quiet glow revealed familiar sights: snow-covered benches, wooden carts resting beside the road, and the frozen stone well standing quietly in the middle of the square. Most cottages appeared dark now, yet Thomas knew many villagers were not fully asleep. In this time before electric lights, people often practiced something historians later called segmented sleep. Families slept for several hours after sunset, woke during the deep middle of the night, and then returned to sleep again before dawn. Inside the cottages, the village moved gently through this hidden midnight rhythm. In one small timber house, a faint candle flickered beside the fireplace. A farmer had quietly risen from his first sleep. He sat beside the hearth, wrapped in a wool blanket, staring peacefully into the glowing embers. This quiet hour between sleeps was not rushed. It was a moment for reflection. Some villagers used this time for prayer. Others whispered softly with family members, discussed the next day's work, or simply sat in silence while the fire crackled gently. Outside, Thomas resumed walking. His boots pressed softly into the snow, leaving careful footprints behind him. The lantern's glow flickered against wooden doors and window frames, creating soft, moving shadows across the village walls. A faint sound drifted through the air. Not danger, just the quiet creaking of wood as a cottage adjusted to the cold night air. Thomas smiled faintly beneath his beard. The village was safe. Farther down the road, another home showed a small sliver of light beneath the door. Someone inside had awakened during the midnight hours. In centuries past, these quiet waking moments were surprisingly common. Without bright artificial lights, the human body followed natural rhythms. After several hours of sleep, many people naturally awoke during the night. Instead of worrying about it, they embraced the stillness. For some, this was a time of creativity.
Writers, craftsmen, and thinkers often used the midnight hour for peaceful work. A candle burning softly on a table was enough light to write letters, mend clothing, or carve small pieces of wood. The silence of the village made every movement feel slower and more thoughtful. Thomas passed the small stone bridge that crossed the frozen creek. The moonlight reflected faintly across the icy surface, creating delicate silver patterns that shimmered beside the lantern's warmer glow. He paused again, resting one hand on the wooden railing. The creek moved slowly beneath the thin layer of ice, whispering quietly through the night. These were the sounds of a world without electricity. No engines, no buzzing lights, no distant hum of machines. Only the quiet breathing of nature and the occasional careful movement of human life. Thomas continued his patrol. In another cottage, a mother sat quietly beside the hearth. Her small child had awakened during the middle of the night, frightened by a dream. She rocked the child gently while humming a soft melody. The warm firelight illuminated the room with a calm golden glow. Moments like these filled the long nights of the past. Without electric lights encouraging people to stay awake late into the evening, most villagers slept earlier. But their nights were not simply one long stretch of unconscious sleep. Instead, they flowed in gentle cycles. First sleep, a quiet waking period, then a second sleep before morning. Thomas reached the edge of the village where the path widened toward open fields. The snow there remained smooth and untouched, glowing faintly under the moon. He lifted his lantern slightly, scanning the quiet horizon. In the distance, tall trees stood motionless against the night sky. The cold air carried the faint scent of wood smoke from dozens of fireplaces throughout the village. Each chimney represented a family resting safely through the long winter night. Thomas felt a quiet sense of pride in his role. For generations, watchmen like him had walked these streets while others slept. They guarded against fire, thieves, wandering animals, and unexpected dangers. Their lanterns served as moving symbols of protection. In many old villages, the watchman would also call out the time during the night. Sometimes he would say softly, "All is well," or 2 o'clock and a cold night. These gentle announcements reassured the sleeping villagers that someone remained awake, watching over them. Thomas did not shout tonight. The air was calm, and the village felt peaceful. Instead, he simply continued his steady patrol. At the far edge of town, he turned back toward the center streets. The night had passed quietly so far. Snow still fell lightly from the sky, drifting slowly downward in soft white flakes. Somewhere behind a cottage wall, a rooster shifted slightly on its perch, sensing that dawn would eventually arrive. But for now, the night remained long. Back inside the homes, some villagers had already returned to their second sleep, drifting peacefully beneath warm blankets. Others still sat beside small fires, enjoying the gentle calm that only the middle of the night could offer. This hidden hour of wakefulness had once been a natural part of human life. It allowed people to pause, to think, to pray, to breathe, and to appreciate the quiet beauty of darkness. Thomas reached the village square again. His lantern flickered softly as he paused beside the frozen well. Snowflakes drifted slowly through the warm circle of lantern light. For a moment, the entire village seemed suspended in perfect stillness. Soon enough, the eastern sky would begin to lighten. Farmers would wake, fires would be rekindled, bread would bake in small ovens, animals would stir in barns. But for that moment had not yet arrived. For now, the village remained wrapped in the gentle embrace of night. Thomas adjusted his lantern and continued his slow patrol through the peaceful streets. And somewhere behind warm wooden walls, villagers drifted quietly between sleep and wakefulness, following the ancient rhythm that had guided humanity for thousands of years. A rhythm shaped not by electricity, but by darkness, by firelight, and by the long, quiet hours of night.
The quiet work of the long winter night. The village lay in the gentle embrace of winter, every rooftop covered with a soft layer of snow, and the streets shimmering faintly under the moonlight. The night was long, stretching quietly toward the early hours before dawn. Every sound, every flicker of firelight, every shadow seemed more pronounced in the absence of electric illumination. Thomas, the night watchman, walked with deliberate calm along the cobblestone streets. His lantern cast a warm, amber glow, illuminating the path before him. Each step on the snow-covered stones was slow and careful, creating a steady rhythm in the otherwise silent village. Beyond the lantern's glow, the cottages rested quietly. Within some, families had settled into their first sleep, their bodies wrapped warmly in blankets. Others were awake during the middle of the night, tending to small chores, whispering softly, or sitting quietly beside a flickering fire. These were the natural rhythms of life before electricity, a world shaped by the subtle divisions of first and second sleep. In one home, a woman carefully tended the small fire in the hearth, adding wood in measured amounts to preserve warmth without overwhelming the small room with smoke. The faint light illuminated her calm face, her careful movements deliberate and practiced. She stirred a pot of simple stew, her senses finely attuned to the aromas, the warmth of the fire, and the needs of her sleeping children. Thomas paused near the center of the village, resting his hand briefly on the handle of his lantern. He listened intently to the quiet night,
the distant sound of an owl, the subtle rustling of trees, and the occasional creak of wooden beams settling under the cold. Every sound was noted, every shadow observed. His role was one of calm vigilance, ensuring the village remained safe during the long hours of darkness. Life in the winter night required attention to small, deliberate details. Candles were trimmed carefully to provide steady light. Hearths were stoked methodically. Windows were checked to ensure the cold wind did not intrude. These small tasks, repeated quietly throughout the long night, provided warmth, light, and comfort to the villagers. The sound of snow shifting beneath Thomas's boots echoed gently across the empty streets. He paused near a frozen creek, its icy surface shimmering faintly in the lantern's glow. The subtle movement of the water beneath the ice made a soft, constant sound, blending with the hush of snowflakes drifting gently to the ground. Within some cottages, children awoke briefly, sometimes frightened by dreams. Mothers moved softly to comfort them, rocking small bodies gently while humming quiet melodies. Fathers stirred quietly as well, adjusting blankets or tending to the needs of the household. These midnight moments were peaceful and calm, filled with care and attentiveness rather than urgency. The night allowed time for reflection. Many villagers used this hidden hour to think, write, or plan. A simple candle on a table provided enough light to mend clothing, carve small pieces of wood, or write letters. The absence of electricity encouraged patience and mindfulness, guiding humans to work carefully and with focus. Thomas continued his patrol, walking slowly along familiar routes. Lantern in hand, he checked each street, each corner, and each alley. The lantern's glow created soft pools of light against the snow, revealing subtle details that the eye could otherwise miss. His presence reassured the sleeping villagers, a quiet reminder that safety and calm remained even in the deepest hours of the night.
In some homes, families sat together, whispering softly while enjoying the warmth of the fire. Stories were told of past winters, distant journeys, and quiet lessons learned. Shadows from the hearth flickered across faces, adding a gentle life to each tale. These moments were not hurried, they were deliberate and calm, a rhythm matched by the slow unfolding of the night. The village clock had long ceased its chimes, yet Thomas maintained his own awareness of time. He noted the hours by the subtle shifts in the wind, the movements of animals, and the faint colors of the night sky. In this era, humans relied on natural cues and careful observation to navigate the long, dark hours before dawn. By the small hours, snow continued to fall softly, covering every surface in a gentle white blanket. The village remained still, calm, and peaceful, each home a warm sanctuary against the winter cold. Thomas moved carefully between cottages, ensuring the village remained safe, his watchful presence a silent reassurance. The long night was punctuated by small rituals. Fires were attended, lanterns refilled, and windows checked. Every sound, the soft crackle of embers, the distant movement of an animal, and the gentle sway of snow-laden branches was part of the careful balance of life without electricity. As dawn approached slowly, the eastern sky began to lighten faintly. But for now, the village remained in the still embrace of night. Thomas paused, adjusting his lantern one last time before completing his patrol. The quiet beauty of life before electric light was revealed in these gentle rhythms, the careful tending of fires, the mindful observation of surroundings, and the deliberate pacing of human activity. Nights were long,
yet full of calm, purpose, and reflection. Thomas continued his slow, steady walk, lantern in hand, carrying the quiet light of vigilance across streets that were blanketed in snow. Every shadow, every whisper of wind, and every flicker of firelight contributed to a world measured in patience, attentiveness, and quiet observation. And so, the village rested peacefully through the long winter night, guided by the rhythm of human care, natural cues, and the watchful presence of Thomas, the night watchman.
Whispers and shadows of the winter night. The night was long and still, blanketing the village in a quiet embrace. Snow lay thick upon rooftops and streets, muffling the faintest sounds of movement. Only the soft whisper of the wind through bare branches and the gentle crackle of distant hearths could be heard. Thomas, the night watchman, moved steadily along the familiar cobblestone paths. His lantern cast a soft amber glow on the freshly fallen snow, revealing the outlines of timber cottages and frozen fountains. Each step was deliberate, the subtle crunch beneath his boots echoing softly in the silence. Winter nights in this village were long and dark, yet filled with gentle rhythms. Families divided their sleep into two periods, first and second sleep, and sometimes spent quiet hours between in thoughtful activity. Some tended fires, others quietly completed small chores, and many simply rested while listening to the stillness of the night. Thomas paused at a small intersection, looking toward the cluster of cottages on the hill. A faint light flickered in one upper window. He knew someone must have woken during the night, perhaps drawn by a dream or a need to check the fire. These moments were normal in life before electricity, a natural wakefulness that humans had embraced for centuries. Inside one cottage, an elderly man sat quietly at a wooden table. Candlelight illuminated his lined face, revealing eyes thoughtful yet calm. He carefully arranged letters and notes, each movement measured and deliberate. The fire crackled softly behind him, warming the small room. In these midnight hours, he found peace in solitude, the quiet providing space to reflect and plan. Thomas continued his patrol, lantern casting gentle pools of light along the street. The stillness made each movement appear amplified, each shadow deeper. Occasionally, he heard the soft sound of a wooden shutter moving, the faint scraping of a chair, or the subtle creak of a door adjusting to the cold night air. All were signs of life carried out calmly, without urgency, in the hours before dawn. A gentle snow began to fall again, drifting softly down from the dark sky. Thomas's lantern illuminated the flakes, turning them into tiny points of gold as they descended toward the ground. The night seemed almost magical, yet grounded in the simple reality of village life: careful attention, deliberate movement, and quiet care for one another. In another home, a young mother gently rocked her sleeping child, humming a soft lullaby. Her face was calm, illuminated by the warm glow of a small candle on the table beside her. These gentle rituals, repeated night after night, created a sense of stability and comfort for everyone in the household. Some villagers used this quiet time for reflection or creativity. A carpenter might sit by the fire, whittling small pieces of wood for the next day's work. A scholar might quietly read or write, cherishing the calm focus that the dark hours provided. In the absence of artificial light, attention became a deliberate, measured act, allowing each person to move slowly and mindfully. Thomas passed by the frozen village well. The water beneath a thin layer of ice shimmered faintly, reflecting both moonlight and the lantern's glow. He paused briefly, observing the stillness,
feeling the weight and serenity of the night. His presence was a reminder of safety, a quiet protection that allowed the village to rest and function calmly even in darkness. Occasionally, the soft stir of animals could be heard, roosters shifting on their perches, small birds rustling in trees, or the distant sound of a barn animal moving. These subtle noises were part of the rhythm of life before electricity, a world shaped by natural cycles and careful observation. Thomas continued on, following familiar routes and checking the most isolated areas. Lantern in hand, he moved with purpose yet remained calm, his presence steady and reassuring. The village had depended on watchmen like him for generations, and every step he took reinforced the sense of security and care that sustained this community through long, dark nights. By the later hours, snow had begun to accumulate more thickly. The village appeared as a pristine, silent world, almost untouched by human activity. Yet within each home, small lights glowed, fires crackled, and the quiet rituals of midnight carried on. Families, workers, and watchers moved slowly and deliberately, all guided by the rhythms of nature and the needs of life before electric illumination. The night seemed endless, yet Thomas's steps were measured, echoing softly in the snow. Shadows danced gently in lantern light, fires flickered in windows, and the moon shone steadily above, illuminating the village in cold silver hues. These long winter nights, filled with calm attentiveness, reflection, and careful movement, formed the gentle heartbeat of a world before electricity. Time was experienced slowly, quietly, and meaningfully. Thomas completed his final rounds before returning to the central square. Lantern held high, he paused for a moment, watching the village sleep. In the stillness, he felt the deep connection of community and the quiet rhythm that guided human life through centuries of darkness. And as he stood there, the snow falling softly around him, the village rested peacefully, warmed by firelight, protected by vigilance, and guided by the timeless patterns of life before electric illumination.
The gentle rhythm of night duties. The night settled over the village like a soft blanket, muffling distant sounds and leaving only the quiet rustle of snow in the wind. Every cottage lay wrapped in a gentle warmth, hearth fires crackling softly, casting flickering shadows across wooden walls. Thomas, the night watchman, moved deliberately along familiar paths, lantern swinging lightly at his side. Each step on the cobblestone streets was soft but steady, the amber glow from his lantern illuminating the snow-covered ground and revealing the subtle contours of frozen footprints and icy patches. Even in the quiet, life continued. Some villagers were awake during these long hours, quietly tending fires, checking their livestock, or mending clothing by the soft glow of a candle. These were tasks done slowly, carefully, with measured attention, the natural rhythm of life before electricity. Thomas paused near a small wooden bridge that crossed the partially frozen creek at the edge of the village. The water beneath reflected both the moonlight and his lantern's glow. The gentle trickle of water beneath the ice blended with the soft whisper of wind through the bare branches of nearby trees. He breathed in the crisp night air, feeling both the chill of winter and the quiet serenity of the village at night. A family of farmers was awake nearby. Inside their timber cottage, a mother carefully stirred a pot of porridge, ensuring it did not scorch, while her children slept nearby. A father checked on the livestock, quietly closing a barn door against the winter wind. Their movements were deliberate and calm, a testament to how people had learned to work with the rhythms of the night rather than against them.
Thomas continued his patrol along the main street, his lantern casting warm light across the cobblestones. Each shadow, each flicker of candlelight in the windows told a story of the household within. Some families whispered quietly to each other, others hummed gentle lullabies to soothe their children. All were bound by a shared understanding of life in the darkness, a life paced by the natural hours and gentle routines of winter. In another home, an elderly man sat quietly at a small table, writing letters by candlelight. His lined face reflected the soft orange glow, and his hands moved slowly and carefully across the paper. There was no rush, no distraction, only a quiet focus that the night hours seemed to encourage. Outside, snow began to fall lightly again, dusting rooftops and streets with a soft white layer. Thomas paused at the center of the village, listening to the delicate whisper of flakes drifting down. His lantern illuminated each flake for a brief instant, a tiny point of golden light falling into the quiet darkness. He resumed walking, checking each corner of the village, every alley and the outskirts near the timber fence. The calm rhythm of his steps was almost meditative, blending with the subtle sounds of the winter night, the creak of wooden shutters, the distant rustle of small animals, the faint crackle of fires burning in chimneys. Even the moon seemed to move slowly across the sky, its pale light touching snow-covered rooftops and frozen streams. In these moments, the village felt timeless, each night a gentle reminder of how humans had learned to live with the long hours of darkness rather than fearing them. Thomas paused briefly at the village well, resting one hand on the stone edge. The water beneath a thin layer of ice shimmered softly, reflecting lantern and moonlight. He inhaled deeply, appreciating the calm, quiet beauty of life before electric light. The world felt deliberate, peaceful, and alive in subtle, careful ways. As the hours passed, the village slept deeply in their beds, warmed by hearth fires and protected by the vigilant watch of Thomas, the night watchman. The quiet care of each household, combined with the watchman's steady presence, created a world of calm routines, gentle attentiveness, and reflection. By the time the first hints of dawn began to lighten the eastern sky, Thomas had completed his rounds. The village remained still, yet alive with quiet warmth, peaceful rhythms, and the knowledge that even in darkness, life moved slowly, deliberately, and gently. The long winter night ended as it had begun, calm, serene, and carefully guided by human care, natural rhythms, and the watchful presence of Thomas, the night watchman.
The last watch of the long night. The final night of winter's long stretch had arrived, draping the village in a serene stillness that only darkness and snow could provide. Every rooftop was blanketed in soft white, and the streets glimmered faintly under the pale glow of the moon. Fires crackled quietly in chimneys, sending gentle warmth into the timber cottages. Thomas, the night watchman, moved steadily along the cobblestone streets. His lantern cast a warm amber glow across snow-covered paths, highlighting frozen footprints and small icicles clinging to window ledges. Each step was purposeful, deliberate, yet calm, as though every movement itself was a meditation on the rhythm of the night. Life in the village continued quietly, as it had for centuries before electric light. Families rose briefly from their beds to tend fires, check on livestock, or simply enjoy the peace of the midnight hours. Some whispered to one another in hushed tones, while others simply sat by candlelight, reflecting on the long day behind them and the day yet to come. Thomas paused at the village well, observing the thin layer of ice covering the water. The soft reflection of his lantern and the moon created a golden shimmer on the surface.
He breathed in the crisp night air and felt the quiet calm that had become so familiar after years of walking these streets. Inside a small timber cottage, a mother gently rocked her child to sleep. Candlelight flickered across her thoughtful face, illuminating her careful movements. The child stirred softly, but settled into a deep slumber, comforted by warmth, safety, and the gentle rhythm of life in darkness. Thomas continued his rounds, walking past frozen garden paths, snow-covered bridges, and quiet courtyards. Each area of the village seemed alive with its own gentle heartbeat, the distant hoot of an owl, the faint rustle of a small animal in the snow, the soft whisper of wind through bare branches. Everything moved slowly and deliberately, in harmony with the natural night. He passed families quietly tending fires, their soft voices blending with the crackle of wood. He observed elderly villagers writing letters by candlelight, children wrapped in warm blankets dreaming in their beds, and workers quietly finishing small tasks to prepare for the morning. Every movement was careful, mindful, and purposeful, the legacy of centuries living with long hours of darkness. Thomas reached the edge of the village, where the snow-covered hills stretched into the horizon. Lantern held firmly in hand, he scanned the surroundings with attentive eyes, ensuring the village remained safe and undisturbed. Shadows danced softly under the pale moonlight, and the snow reflected faint glimmers that made the world appear almost magical in its calm stillness. The night deepened, but the village remained in quiet motion, a subtle symphony of human life before electricity. Every flickering candle, every small movement, every attentive glance contributed to the careful rhythm that guided villagers through the long hours of darkness. As dawn approached, Thomas made his final rounds. The first hints of light stretched across the eastern sky, soft and pale against the deep blue of night. He paused briefly in the village square, lantern held steady, and reflected on the quiet power of routine, attentiveness, and calm. Life before electricity had been slower, quieter, and gentler, and yet it had created a profound sense of community, rhythm, and safety. With one final look at the snow-covered rooftops and flickering windows, Thomas returned to the central watch house. The village was safe, the night had passed, and life would continue in its careful, measured way. The long winter night had ended as it began, peacefully, deliberately, and quietly guided by human care and the gentle watch of Thomas, the night watchman.